Good evening, viewers. This is Export Digest, your #1 program that periscopes the non-oil export sector, highlighting the opportunities therein and exploring strategies to exploit these opportunities. At Export Digest, we also seek to identify and proffer solutions to challenges in the export sector in such a way that practitioners and policymakers alike can craft a way forward in improving on their respective roles. I am Femi Boyede. As it is with different cultures and based on the expectations of peoples all around the world, how export items are presented or brought into different countries is ethically guided, mainly due to qualitative, safety, security, and presentation reasons. The condition under which products, commodities, or services are brought into various countries may differ, some more stringent than others. But there are surely rules and regulations guiding the standardization of products, commodities, and services country by country. Some Nigerian business owners, especially operators of MSMEs, might fall into the hurry race to get their export business up to a flying start and as fast as possible, probably to quickly recoup investments. It is, however, wise to know that not just anything goes in the global market.
The challenge we have in Nigeria is that the export culture, we don't have an export culture. We need to build an export culture. That is the way to go, so that people can understand. When you have export culture, you find a situation, there is quality assurance, irrespective of the position of people. When you want to do certain things, someone will say, oh, please, have you forgotten that this thing is for export? That's where you know that there's an export culture in existence. So that is a major, major issue. Now, packaging is another component of failing to standards. I mean, a lady was exporting yam. Against advice, the packaging was not okay. She used a closed-top container. By the time the yam got there, if you put your hand, it will enter. The heat had destroyed the yam. So, you see, exporting has become knowledge intensive. Even now that there is problem in the country, problem of foreign exchange, everybody now want to export. Export is the sing-song. Whoever has something to do with export is like a new bride. If we don't want to have more of the case that we have with EU, that regulatory agencies will have to sit up and do their job. In fact, do extra job right now to make sure that we do not spoil the already bad reputation that we have further. So packaging is part of it.
By nature, we even for me, we are attracted to things that look good. Before we touch it, before we taste it, we have to visually, it has to visually appeal to us. And in fact, what I have found is sometimes Nigerian products are more superior. I'll give you an example, Duduosun. The quality, the natural content is absolutely superb. But when we package it, people would not want to put that on their shelf. Oftentimes, your marketing would even be better if the product you're marketing is at a very good quality. So I know from an investment concern, our manufacturers may be trying to limit their cost, but in reality, you're going to hand back every single investment you make in packaging. For everything you put into packaging, even local demands for your product is almost guaranteed to increase. And you can even compete with imported items if you get your packaging right. So if you need to work with consultants, with brand specialists, please, by all means, reach out and do that. Because this world we're in right now is so fast moving. The consumers are determining what they want to buy and how they want to buy it, and manufacturers and people that and business people that do not move with the customers will be left behind. If I am a buyer and I go to a marketplace to buy fish and I have my money in my pocket, and I go to the market and there are 5 people offering me the same product, and as I enter the market, the first seller says, oh, this, that, I'll move on to the next. And the next seller said, oh, no, I don't want, I'll move on to the next. Because as a buyer, I am looking for a seller that will treat me well. I am looking for a seller that would show they value my business. I am looking for a seller that is willing to streamline our relationship. That would say, I am willing to package your fish the way you want it. You know, this is basic customer service.
Hello, I'm Denise.
My name is Yinka Titiloye. I'm a farmer. Welcome to the Itagro Model Farm.
I'm Craig Waters from Oklahoma State University.
Watch Export Digest.
Watch Export Digest.
Watch Export Digest.
For edible items, the issue of food security is uppermost in the policy of any receiving country. No nation wants to permit expired, contaminated, or lower quality food to pass its borders in the name of some export business idea. Nations carry out their due diligence to ensure that buyers and by extension consumers are not at any risk purchasing imported products and commodities. This informs nations setting up different agencies to check and uphold standards. Indeed, the United Nations has agencies that also formulate policies to monitor the quality and movement of and also trade in countless items across countries. For example, the Food and Agriculture Organization, FAO, amongst other responsibilities, aims to secure improvements in food production and distribution. As they strive to better the condition of people in rural areas, they equally contribute to the expansion of the global economy. While the World Health Organization, WHO, seeks to attain the highest possible level of health by all peoples and will then be very much interested in development and trade involving pharmaceutical products, the United Nations Industrial Development Organization, UNIDO, is mandated to promote industrial development and international industrial cooperation. Very relevantly, the International Trade Center, ITC, constantly works towards improving small business export success in developing countries by providing sustainable and inclusive trade development solutions to exporters, trade support institutions, and policy makers. Just as the World Trade Organization, WTO, deals with the rules of trade between nations with the goal of helping producers of goods and services, exporters and importers conduct their businesses. It is instructive to mention these global regulatory agencies so that you can appreciate how the international business environment is keen on what crosses from one border to another.
Quality standards, I will not score us terribly low. You know what? A lot of these commodities do not have very serious quality issues. Even this cocoa we're talking about, dry it properly. Once you achieve the required moisture level, all other issues are gone. But once you have too much moisture, then slaty, moldy, and the rest of the things, you have issues. The same thing with others. So it's about knowing. For example, I think cocoa, between 7 and 10% maximum allowable. Some of them is 7% maximum. If it is 7.5, you have an issue. Then, sesame seed doesn't have too much of moisture content, but I mean, the oil content of sesame seed is about 52% of the seed. So for every commodity that is there, we know what the quality parameter is. And you can't start exporting without understanding the commodity that you want to export thoroughly, inside out.
Here in Nigeria, even before venturing outside the country, different regulatory agencies responsible for various aspects must certify that your non-oil export product or commodity is fit for trade, both at home and in the nations of the world. The Nigerian Export Promotion Council, NEPC, serves to prioritize the diversification of Nigeria's economy by expanding and increasing non-oil exports for sustainable and inclusive economic growth. NEPC thereby releases export guidelines from time to time. Regulatory agencies such as the National Food and Drug Administration and Control, NAFDAC, is responsible for regulating and controlling the manufacture, importation, exportation, distribution, and use of food, drugs, cosmetics, medical devices, chemicals, and packaged water. So, it goes without saying that entrepreneurs seeking to export these items that fall within these categories must pass through NAFDAC, get the certification before attempting to launch into the global market.
International trade is all about compliance. Talk about compliance to quality, then talk about compliance to documentation. Documentation is a major, people ignore it, but exporters forget that your money, that paper is your money. Without that paper, your money is gone. So documentation is another one that requires attention, very, very serious attention. So people don't get paid because at times either you lose part of the money or you have a very delayed time before you get your money, or you lose all the money. And in many cases, you may not even go for litigation because a lot of odds are against you as a result of what you did. If you want to export, you need to understand the procedure and regulation in your own country. You need to understand procedure and regulation in the country where you are exporting, because all those things on both sides are what you must comply with. A typical example is, for example, there's a document, if you are importing into Nigeria, that they call CCVO, Combined Certificate of Value and Origin. Only Nigeria uses that document. It is not an international document. But the truth is that you want to do business with Nigeria, you want to export to Nigeria, you've got to find it wherever it is. But documentation is one where we have a lot of issues. I could say that 95% of documents prepared by Nigerian exporters had discrepancies. 95%. It was that high.
In the same vein, the Standards Organization of Nigeria, SON, oversees the regulation and quality of goods, weeding out practices that produces substandard items. SON works closely with the Manufacturers Association of Nigeria to fulfill its mandate.
Most of what we export from Nigeria are agro-produce, and agro-produce all of them have a moisture problem. As a result of that, there's a maximum limit of moisture in cocoa, in shea nuts, in ginger, in sesame seed, in all agro-commodities. That is only one aspect. The quality of an agro-produce is dependent on a whole lot of things. It could be the types of soil, it could also be the quality of seedlings, and then, most importantly, post-harvest handling. That's where a lot of things go wrong. I'll give you an example. If you cut plantain from the stem and allow the fruit to hit the ground. At that moment, you won't see anything. It will look normal. 2 days later, check that part of the plantain that hit the ground. It turns black. It's bruised. If you go to countries where plantain is their own oil, they understand all that and they don't make such mistakes.
I think manufacturing is going to be key because it's still expensive to manufacture goods in the United States. And with the AGOA agreement and us moving product back and forth, there's a way to move the product needed to manufacture in Nigeria specifically and export those finished goods or partially finished goods back into the United States for the last few steps and for sale in the U.S. market or even into the Canadian market and to all of the Americas, again, under the NAFTA free trade agreement. So if we look at it strategically and opportunities within Nigeria to really develop capacity, manufacturing, I think, is imperative, and learning how to manufacture products using that U.S. standard of excellence, because most products that we get from the U.S. usually are pretty good products. I mean, we do a pretty good job of creating things, but it's very expensive. And I just think manufacturing for small businesses is going to be key. Hello, I'm Denise.
My name is Yinka Titiloye. I'm a farmer. Welcome to the E31 Model Farm.
I'm Craig Waters from Oklahoma State University.
Watch Export Digest.
Watch Export Digest.
Watch Export Digest.
While an exporter must work to fulfill the standards, regulations in Nigeria and get proof of adherence to them, he must also be interested in the guidelines, regulations and restrictions obtainable in the country he plans to export to. For instance, the United States of America have their do's and don'ts for commodities and products being brought into their space. As cumbersome as knowing what to do and what not to do, to stay profitable exporting Nigerian non-oil items, Koinonia Ventures Limited, the brain behind this program, Export Digest, and by far the #1 authority in the business of diversification and export in Nigeria, is ready to help you sail safely to the uttermost parts of the global market. Contact us through the numbers and details now showing on your screen for the guidance you need. Also remember the never to be missed Export Roadmap workshop coming in the last quarter of this year. More information on this shall be rolled out on Export Digest as well as on all our channels. Plan to take advantage of the workshop. Today on Export Tips, we bring you step 5 of the 7 steps to export success, courtesy of the Center for the Development of Imports from Developing Countries, CBI, Netherlands. On the last episode of Export Digest, we brought you some of the reforms that the Corporate Affairs Commission has introduced into Nigeria's business environment to make the business environment easier. Today, on the CAC segment, we continue our discourse with the Registrar General.
If you don't register your businesses, you're not going to have records or transactions. If you register your business, it means you are going to keep records of all your transactions. And by doing that, you can have successive businesses. Even if you demise, your business can still continue. Unlike where you have only one business, when he dies, the business will die. But if it's a company, the company will not die, because the company is different from the person who is going to die. And we have also created desks in all our offices. If you are coming from Sweden, you don't have to go through lawyer. You can come to our desks and you get the business registered. And by doing that, we are reducing the costs of registering their businesses. And the government has also given us some incentive that if you register a business with the commission, you have 50% reduction in the filing fees. That has been enjoyed by those who are proposing to their business in CS. Well, we are trying to make it easier, like I said earlier on, for people to register their businesses. So we are making it open. People can register their businesses online. We will soon have a document upload whereby customers can now upload all their documents without having to come to CAC. What they are doing now is come to CAC, file the document, and then the CAC will now scan those documents and send to us. But we are now saying that for our own office, can be able to scan their documents and send to us. And that will make it easier for you. And even in the area of stamping of documents, we are now trying to collaborate with FRS so that we can have e-stamping, whereby you can have one-stop shop. You come to CAC, the CAC, you file a document there, you pay for the stamp duty, you also pay for registration, and your document will be stamped electronically. You don't have to go to stamp duty, to have been stamped physically. That will also ease the decision process, like it's been in other jurisdictions. We now have what we call public search window, whereby public can now search for information on companies, like the name of the company, the director's LC number. You can do that free of charge. Once you go to our website, the link is there. And even if you are trying to reach a company, you want to find out if that name is available, you can also go there and search. And if that name is available, you will see at no cost to you. Unlike before, whereby you have to file the documents, the process before you now know that the name is not available. Now you can try it yourself and find out if that name is actually available for you to take or not. These are the things that we have done to bring customers closer to us.
And now to our question of the week. Remember, the first correct answer gets a prize, this time around, courtesy of Koinonia Ventures Limited. Thank you so much for staying with us as we round up another interesting package of Export Digest. We hope you learned something useful today. As you know, we strive to always expand your knowledge and enhance your readiness to export. Remember, you can watch this particular episode and even others before it on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/Export Digest. And as usual, we will appreciate your comments, your observations, and contributions as we continue on our march towards making Nigeria a viable exporting nation while leading our viewers into the hidden secrets of export treasures. Our channels of communication are open and have been showing on your screen. Many thanks to our sponsors for their contributions to the development of Export Digest. Remember that by showcasing your business, goods, and services on this program, you will be helping us immensely to pay for our airtime and cost of production while expanding the corporate mileage that you get for your brand, products, and services. We invite you to come on board by calling us today, and you will be glad you did. Join us same time on this same channel next week for another exciting package of Export Digest. I am Femi Boyede. See you then, and God bless Nigeria.